Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast, your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of the Stuff and Things Podcast. I am Sam. We are talking Daredevil Born again today, as if that intro didn't give it away, and joining me to break down every episode of this series, starting with the first two, it's Stefan.
Oh, do you know what? I've missed that music. That was a good intro music that show had.
Yeah. I mean, I like the remix as well for Born again.
I did. I know sometimes you mention things like in the starting credits and I'm like, oh no, I skipped the credits. I'm really glad I didn't skip the credits for this one, like the start bit.
Yeah, I'm glad too, because I felt it was a very clever continuation of the Netflix opening credits, but with a very different slant. You know, the Netflix one was all about Hell's Kitchen being covered in blood, you know?
Yeah.
And this was all about everything being broken and then coming back together to form Daredevil, which I thought was very clever. Symbolism.
That's the one.
And all that fun stuff. So, to say this has probably been the most anticipated show for me personally is an understatement. And the fact that yesterday I got to feel incredibly old when I realised that the original Daredevil series on Netflix came out in 2015, so that's 10 years ago.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Jeez, I did not. I knew there'd been a gap. I didn't realise there'd been that much of a gap.
I mean, that's season 1, obviously.
Yeah, but wow, 10 years.
Yeah, that stung a little bit.
I feel old. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are now in this place with Daredevil Born again. They've released episodes 1 and 2 together. So as per tradition on our show, Stefan, the title of episode 1 was
Heaven's Half Hour.
And the title of episode 2 was
Optics.
Correct. Well done. Good man.
See, I don't know if it says my mind or not, but I saw Optics and thought it was going to be something to do with a bar.
Yeah. You're a raging alcoholic, I think, has just been proven once again. Heading into this show, I think they've done a quite incredible job of drip feeding from the trailer into little snippets, and all of the snippets that have come out all appear to be episode 1 and 2 snippets. So not, you know, they've not really spoiled anything. They've just been kind of like drip feeding us these little bits.
Yes.
And one of the clear things for me also with the press tour with it has been this feeling I've had, and I shared it with you, and it was this kind of feeling of dread, because I knew, and pretty much everyone who's a fan of this knew, that the original concept for Daredevil Born Again got ripped up, the showrunners removed, new directors, new showrunners, and massive changes. But I did know that in that original incarnation of the show, 1, they treated it like a reboot. So, yes, it was the same actors, but they were kind of acting like the Netflix show never happened.
Right, that wouldn't have worked.
And 2,
yeah,
the characters of Foggy and Karen were dead, but were dead off screen, and we were literally starting with this version of Matt who'd lost his best friends and was not the character any of us knew. And that's why it was a reboot, because it was like a completely, same guy, but a completely different incarnation of the character. Once it got leaked that, look, new showrunners have come in, they've ripped this up, welcome back, you know, the actors of both Karen and Foggy, I was over the moon.
Yeah.
I think I did a TikTok on the day, like, we won, and there was a leaked set photo of the 3 of them leaving Murdoch, Nelson, Murdoch and Paige at law. So it was all very, very happy. But as I said, going into this press tour, all of a sudden, there were little comments And little moments, and I said to you, I am starting to panic. They're killing one of the OGs.
Yeah.
And the more I thought about it, the more I kept analysing it, it was Foggy. And I just kept thinking to myself, they're going to kill Foggy. And it got to the point that when these 2 episodes were available, I kind of braced myself. I was kind of like, right, I need to watch them as soon as possible. And I need to be in a position where I... like, if this is going to happen, I don't want it to be spoiled for me. Yeah. So that's why I need to watch them as soon as possible. But also, I need to be prepared for it to happen. What I wasn't prepared for, and I will say this straight away, is that it literally happened in the opening act.
Yeah, that was a shocker for me. I thought it was difficult because I'm like, okay, you're bringing back the 3 original kind of main characters to a show, leaving Fisk to one side, because obviously he's a main character from it, but leave him to one side for a minute.
Yeah.
You've brought the 3 back together. They've been doing the press tour, and it's kind of been those 3 and Fisk and all the press tour stuff, and loads of bits on Disney Plus and Marvel with those 4 kind of sat having these conversations around a table and stuff. And I'm like, I was saying to you, I was like, yeah, I think you're right. I think something major is going to have to happen for this to kind of work in a sense. But I can't imagine it's going to be like the first 2 episodes. It's not going to be that quick that they kind of kill someone off. I was waiting for, like, mid-season something happens to change everything. Or then I got, after the cold open, and I was like, oh, that poor bugger. Like, he's come back. Oh my God, they're bringing Daredevil back. You want me on screen for how long?
Well, mate, it gets,
oh, you poor bugger.
Well, wait, because it gets really interesting. Okay, I said this to you last night in a bit of a cryptic message. This gets interesting. So, the actor, I said to you a couple of days ago, I'm now convinced Fogg is dead because the actor Eldon, in the last thing I saw of him, just looks depressed. Just looks like, why am I here? I'm on screen for 45 seconds. Why am I here? Now, in my head, when I knew they were releasing the first 2 episodes, I thought maybe at the very end of episode 2 would be when something shocking would happen. Like, we'd have these first 2 as a kind of, here, everyone's back together, everything's good, let everyone kind of feel that attachment again, and then rip someone away from us, is what I kind of had in mind.
Yeah.
Because they did keep saying that, like, if you watch the Netflix shows, then you're going to love this, but if you didn't, then this is going to be great from day one. Well, let's just say you're someone who's never watched the Netflix shows. You don't know who he is.
No.
You don't know who any of them are. So you don't feel any attachment, and you don't know what's going on in that opening scene.
Yeah, and the fact that, again, so that opening scene's happen, and then we get, like, the court cases and stuff, and it's a year later, and Karen and Matt haven't spoken for a year. Now, if you haven't seen the original shows, you're not going to realise that that's quite a big thing because of how close those 3 were. So for those 2 to have not spoken for a year, that's a really big thing. But
it is massive.
If you're coming into this as kind of, you kind of know who the Daredevil character is, or you've not really watched the first 3 seasons, you're just going to be like, okay, they fell out after he died. Okay.
Yeah. So before we take that 1 year time jump, I want to focus purely on the death of Foggy, because the death of him as a character, so there's 2 parts to this. One is the actor, which we're going to come on to, but first of all, the character. I have a big fear of this, but by the way, I'm not like panning the show. I'm not saying, oh, I'm not going to watch, but I have a big fear on this because I think Foggy as a character is so integral to Daredevil. He's like his conscience.
Yeah, he was like the moral compass.
Yeah, moral compass, a kind of real grounding rod to everything, and a kind of their friendship, their interactions were really key. And even in this like snippet at the beginning where he's like, I didn't want to give you an excuse, his kind of, he knew what his friend was, he accepted him for what he was, but at the same time didn't like that he risked his life all the time, and didn't want him to be Daredevil, wanted him to just be a lawyer with him, fight the right way in his mind.
Yep.
And that was so good. And like, you had this snippet of the relationship with all of them in the bar, with him and Karen, the little flirty, we should get out of here, that breaks the friend rules, we're kind of in, we're kind of out, which was naughty.
Yeah.
But it just kind of, all of that was there right away. So what do you think about that? Because just removing him as a character, I kind of felt that he was removed as a character and then replaced with the retiring police officer. That felt weird.
No, I see exactly what you mean there. It seemed strange that they've brought the original 3 back.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get rid of the 2 that they were going to kill off screen anyway.
Yeah.
To just bring them back for a couple of minutes and then pretty much replace them with these 2 new characters that are playing almost the same roles.
Well, so what is?
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one.
I think it's worth pointing out, of course, when they brought in new showrunners, brought in new directors, and really carved this show up. Season 1 of this show up, they had a lot of stuff filmed, and one of the reasons that the original show had killed those 2 off was because both the actors couldn't return because they were committed to other things. So if you had loads of episodes filmed with, okay, we can't have Karen and Foggy back, the actors aren't here, we don't want to recast them, all right, we'll kill them off, that'd be a catalyst. But then kind of replacing them in Matt's world, if you like, it's this new character who he's got a law practice with, McDuffie. And then we've also got this retired police chief who's going to be like his PI, and they're going to kind of replace him with his grounded interactions that we know from the events of what happened with Foggy, that the now retired police officer knows who he is because he saw him without his mask.
Yeah.
So I think perhaps they were in this position of, we've already got so much of this filmed with these people and these characters in. Now we're in this position, we're rewriting it, and these 2 actors are now available. Crap, what do we do? So I think that was interesting, but just so that, I think, is why Karen is now in San Francisco. You know, Foggy's death's a perfectly good reason for wanting to get away from New York. But what is interesting, and this is the thing I want to come on to, and this is to do with the actor now, Elgin, who plays Foggy. I'm going to say something now which is going to blow your mind.
Okay.
He and Ram Wall, who plays Karen, are both in season 2 of the show. Okay, so whilst your brain computes that, I have a clip with an interview, which I'm going to put on the podcast now, and you've not heard this, is from Brad Winderbaum. Brad Winderbaum is the head of Marvel Television. He is the guy who is trying to transform the Marvel stuff on Disney Plus from basically being a movie broken down into parts to being actual episodic television. The first show really under this umbrella was Agatha All Along, which was kind of already happening under the old umbrella, so it was kind of converted. But this one is the first proper one of episodic TV under the Marvel Television banner. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So he was being interviewed, and this is what he had to say.
So when you look at the source material, you know, the cost of violence is something that drives him, and also challenges him. But I will say I see Karen and Foggy as being, you know, intrinsically tied to Matt. I don't think there's, you know, a Matt Murdock story without those 2 characters. And I'm excited to see them both in season 2 as well. So when you say there's no story without Karen and Foggy, how do we do a story without Karen and Foggy? Is that really where we're going now? Well, you know, without going into spoiler territory, I will say that both Deborah and Eldon are coming back for season 2.
So there you go.
So we're going to have a load of flashbacks in season 2?
This is the MCU. This is comic books. This is anyone really ever dead in comic books? It is, I don't know. None of us have a clue. It could be he's a Force ghost, bit of cross-pollination. It could be flashbacks like you just said. It could be that his body was stolen by the Hand and brought back to life and he's going to be a villain. I have no idea.
Yeah, like they kind of really sold it in those first episode or so that he is dead. Like with the trial and everything else for now. If he had just gone off in the ambulance, and then a year passes from the incident, and Karen's moved to get away from it,
Foggy
you could kind of leave
100%
it in that
died.
comic book realm of, we didn't see the body.
No. He's
But
dead.
They've made it very clear.
No, he's dead. So Matt heard his heart stop, and that was that scene. So him fighting Dex. One, how did you feel about that scene? Because when Matt was running to get there, I say running to get there, doing a bit of parkour.
Yeah.
I thought it looked a little ropey.
It didn't look as good as I was expecting some of it, I must be honest.
It looked like they kind of CGI'd a bit of that, and it was a bit Spider-Man, but low budget.
Yeah, like he's got this kind of grappling thing that he was using, and it did look. It didn't look what I'd have expected. It looked.
But the actual ground and pound fight with Bullseye,
that was good.
Was very good, and the stylizing of it, the violence, by the way, which I think sets the tone for this show. It was violent. That the people were being murdered left, right, and center. It was violent, and it was good, and it was hard hitting.
The mouse is currently sat in a corner rocking after seeing that first episode on his platform.
Yeah, definitely. But it was special, and like you said, you then have this 1 year later. One of the first things I noticed after 1 year is Matt is still putting Foggy's memorial from his funeral in his pocket every day.
Yep.
That was... Again, I don't know if everyone's going to have this, because I don't know if everyone's watching this show has got all of the series behind them, because Foggy wasn't just in Daredevil. He was across the Defenders series. He appeared in Jessica Jones, Luke Cage.
Yep.
So he was the heartbeat in kind of crossover, and a number of characters did, but there was a real affection for him, in this, and it just kind of...
Even when Foggy in the previous shows made bad decisions, you kind of just wanted to put your arm around him and go, it's all right, Foggy.
Well, that was silly. Yeah. That was silly, Foggy, Yeah,
that was stupid, but you won't make that mistake next time. Whereas you get some characters in TV shows that would make that decision, you're like, I just want to slap them. But Foggy's character was so endearing. It was always the whole, I just want to put my arm around him and make sure he's okay. We loved Foggy.
No, I agree with you. Now, whilst that is happening, and I picked up on this, I don't know if you did, there's like a news thing going on, rattling off various things. They talk about a recall election. Now, when I heard that, I knew where that was going, because I'd watched the Echo series, and I knew that same news report was being watched by Wilson Fisk on his private jet in an after-credits scene at the end of the Echo series, where he got the idea, maybe I could run for mayor. So that tied in quite nicely for me. So I kind of like, I know where that's going.
Yes.
But as the focus changed from that and Matt was doing things, did you hear the next part, which is about provocative street art appearing overnight?
No, I missed that bit.
So, in the trailer, there is a character clearly seen in the trailer who is a villain from Daredevil comics called Muse.
Okay.
Have you heard of Muse?
Not one that jumps off the page at me is like one I remember.
Okay, so Muse is probably a character I didn't think we would ever see on the screen.
Okay.
He is a Banksy-styled street artist who starts to murder people and create art from their bodies.
Oh, okay.
And when I say not just like some sort of pretty pattern of dead bodies, I mean he dismembers them, and it is graphic and it is gross, and I'm fairly confident, knowing the tone of this show, which has already been set, it is going to be very violent. Oh,
yeah, that's not the the family-friendly version of Marvel, then no.
No.
Wow.
This,
okay, yeah.
This
That
is
could be
not
interesting
Watch
to
with
see.
Kids. I mean, this is not only the first kind of episodic show they're doing, this is the first 18 rated in the UK, R-rated USA.
Yes.
And the language shows that. You know, you've got F-bombs being dropped on a regular basis, but also the level of violence shows that.
Yeah.
You said that with a real kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So I'm gonna run through a few bullet points. This is 1 year later. We see Matt testify in court to put Bullseye away. He's been given consecutive life sentences. Do you think that's the last we've seen of him?
Definitely not.
No. A little detail I loved, okay? Not only was he chained up in a kind of Hannibal Lecter style thing, you notice even his hands were covered?
Yeah.
Yes, because obviously he can kill flies with a friggin' paperclip. So
Not going to lie,
deadly.
that was possibly the most impressive kill so far in the 2 episodes. That was, yeah.
Yeah, that was what an introduction. But yeah, so that was something else. And again, it just like a little crazy thing. But yeah, I can't imagine we're gonna see that's the end of that. I think that's kind of. Yeah, that's brewing. That's there in the background. He still exists. He's alive, despite being thrown off of a roof. By the way, yeah, that guy survives. He's a survivor.
Yeah, and he's in fairly good shape for someone that landed on his head off a building. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, he landed on his front. He was very splattered. But there's a little interesting theory going around. So, at the end of Daredevil 3, he has his back broken by Fisk. And in that moment, in the after credit scene to season 3, which they filmed before they knew it was cancelled, they had his back being repaired by a surgeon who was grafting a form of metal to his spine. In the comics, he is given an adamantium spine.
Oh.
So it is possible, given all the medical uses of adamantium that, you know, we just heard about in Captain America, A Brave New World, which I won't say more about in case people haven't seen it, that is what was given to Dex, and that is why he was actually able to survive that fall, because his body was kept.
Oh, it makes sense.
Yeah.
That would tie in nicely. I like it. If they're going to start doing little bits like that tie in subtly, that'd be quite nice.
Yeah. Well, there's a few people who have said it, and they're kind of the people that I trust for noticing things, if that makes sense. So I do that. So the next bullet point I have here, which I think was kind of a big one, was Vanessa's running the 5 families.
That was interesting. I was very happy to see the original Vanessa back.
Yeah. Again, another thing from the reshoot. So the actress in the original thing, they recast her. Not that she wasn't available. They just picked somebody else to play Vanessa. And when the new showrunners took it over, they went, no, that's ridiculous.
A woman walks in. Who the hell are you?
However, I will just say something to you. You can really see the reshoots. And I'll give you an example of it. There's a scene where Fisk and Vanessa go to therapy.
Yep.
If you really watch that scene, those two are filming that on different days. If you really look at it, there's a gap between them on the sofa, which, you know, is symbolic of their separation currently.
Yep.
But when they walk in together, that's not her.
Okay.
So it is. They've clearly done a lot of work to get this back to a sort of place where they want it to be.
Like, it's difficult because when you've got a character as integral to Fisk as Vanessa is, to have a character change there could really throw people off. So I'm glad they have managed to get the original actress back, because that could have been one of those ones that would have been just a bit like, kind of throws you out a little bit.
It would. I mean, I find recasting quite tough, given the length of time that's passed. Possibly could have got away with it, but I was delighted, like you, when I saw her walk in. And by the way, did you also pick up on the tracksuit reference?
No.
the two guys arguing, and he says, "Oh, it's been this way long before you put that tracksuit on," which is a reference to the tracksuit mafia, which we got introduced to in Hawkeye as a group that sort of ran with Fisk.
Yeah.
But yeah, when she just walks in and it's just like, "Hey everybody, stop squabbling over pennies when you're set to make millions," and just calms everyone down. They're like, "Yes, Mrs. Fisk," and I was just like, "Oh wow." She's gone from being this art curator to being running of things. What did you then think to the moment that Fisk shows up?
That was good. So, on the whole thing with Vanessa now running the show, I sent you a message. I was like, oh, imagine if actually we find out that Vanessa is the big bad. Now that she's been given this power to kind of run the business, as she says. They're complicated business, or complex business, as she says.
Yeah.
It then turns out that actually she takes over the Kingpin and she becomes the big bad, because that would put Fisk in a situation.
It would, but there's... Yeah, I mean, I think at this point watching it, I'm kind of loving that. By the end of episode 2, I'm convinced Fisk is still Kingpin. Like, at this point, I'm kind of like, the new Fisk? The calmer? Wants to serve his city, Fisk? But, yeah.
And then he does the one thing with the photograph. You're like, oh, no, there he is. Yep, there he is.
Yeah. And also, I mean, we're going to come on to that, but
yeah, no, when
does that
Fisk
with the
turns up and everyone's just kind of like, Vanessa? Everyone up and out. You're like,
oh, I love that.
At that point, I'm kind of looking at it and I'm like, my mind went in two different ways. It was either he is still Kingpin and everyone is like, oh, it's Fisk. Okay, get out. Or the other bit my mind went to first was, oh my God, Fisk doesn't realise Vanessa's still running the businesses. And everyone was clearing out because like, we shouldn't be here. Oh no, he found... Because it looks like they're kind of just locked up in one of those big storage container warehouses. Storage yards.
Yeah, I kind of love that as a HQ, by the way. Like a kind of... Everyone just goes to their storage locker and they're having meetings there. I kind of thought that was really
That's
clever.
quite fun. I like that. But I wasn't sure at first which way. I was like, has Fisk just found out that he's running for mayor and he's told, like, I don't do that anymore? And then he's found Vanessa and gone, oh my God, you're still doing this. Or is it a case of, he's still Kingpin and they've all just scarpered because, nobody wants to get hurt.
This is going to sound so stupid, but again, as a fan of the Netflix shows and everything, just hearing him say Vanessa was great.
It was brilliant, wasn't it?
it's like we are back.
So there it is.
What did you think of their interaction in this moment then? So he's kind of like, we learn in this moment that he's up and about after recovery and then he vanished on her. So she's a little bit pissed at him. You can kind of pick that up and that obviously comes out a little bit more. But he's quite conciliatory. He's not kind of like... He's like, you've done a really good job.
It's never been so profitable. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's... And also she does... I love cold his ass lines. I love the, protection. They're afraid. But with making them money, they're loyal. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that was a proper that was the point where I was like, oh, she's all in. Okay, she has learnt the ways well.
also, and if you overanalyze that, maybe was that a threat? They might be afraid of you, but they're loyal to me.
Yeah, I'm making the money, so I have the loyalty. Again, kind of ties into my little. Oh my God, she's going to be the big bad.
She is Mrs. Kingpin.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because he very much wants a partnership still. She seems to be a bit like, you left me, you bastards. I didn't know what was going on. She even says, like, I sat by your bedside waiting, like, every day, and then you got up from that and left.
Yeah, so I was expecting the problem to be the fact that he was in hospital for so long. I didn't expect it to be the fact that he was in hospital for so long and then vanished for his rehab and just left her to it. That was like okay.
Yeah. So I'm in two minds about it, and I hope they clarify this in later episodes. So he got shot, as we all know, in the face.
Yeah.
And that he managed to survive that amazingly. But, you know, that does
Comic
happen.
book.
So we're not...
Yep.
Yeah, no, it is a comic book, but that does happen in real life. Like, there's some mad stuff where things like that. I know there's a soldier who got... Did you ever... I mean, probably not, but he got shot and it went through his, like... ear canal and then came out sort of not the right way through, but like came out part of it and just missed his brain. Like literally shot in the head, through his head, left a hole there. Like, so yeah, it can happen. It's mad.
You can go down a rabbit hole and a half on Twitter for something like that.
Yeah, you can. Oh yeah, it's not a good place. But Twitter in general is not a good place. No. So he so yeah, okay, all right, we're accepting that. But was it sat by his bedside recovering from that, and then he vanished, which was the events of the Echo series, because he went off to find Maya, and then, or was it after those events, because she did something to him in that final episode, which made him confront all of his rage and everything, you know, she used her gift, her power, if you like, to make him confront it all, because he said, I was broken and I had to piece myself back together. I think it was from the gunshot, but then all of that happened, which meant he was away for a long time, rather than it being like, went to see Maya, was gone for a week and came back. Yeah. I think, anyway. I think that must be it, because that's... Yeah, I'm sort of trying to piece it together. The biggest problem in the MCU, or one of my biggest problems right now, is trying to piece together timelines to know where stuff connects.
Yeah, ever since the multiverse got involved, it does seem to be that it is just an absolute kind of car crash of timelines.
Yeah.
I've got no idea. Like, I watch an MCU movie or I watch one of their Disney Plus shows, and before... Like, especially the first maybe 2 phases, you could kind of perfectly place everything exactly where probably the first 3 phases up to Endgame, really, you could slot everything exactly where it should be.
Yep.
And now I'm kind of like, oh, wait, so that's happening here, but then we've just had a 1-year time jump, so where does... It's all good having a 1-year time jump, but if you don't know where you're actually jumping from...
It is difficult to tie it in. It is difficult, and they're deliberately being vague, because there's a scene in this where when Fisk becomes mayor, and it's New Year's Eve. I'm sorry, what New Year's Eve party in New York ever doesn't have the year written somewhere?
Yeah, I noticed that no one was wearing a bobble thing or headband with the year like 2020 or 2030 or whatever on it. Yeah,
nothing. Yeah, so I was kind of like, ugh. You're doing it on purpose to us now. But yeah, so Vanessa appears to be running things with the 5 families. Matt is not Daredevil anymore. He's abandoned that persona and he set up a practice, Murdoch and McDuffie. McDuffie we met briefly. She was a junior DA and she was kind of flirting with Foggy, trying to get his game plan for defending a client out of him. And they were all, and you know, Karen and Matt were laughing like, oh, Foggy, you know, what are you doing? And it was kind of funny and sweet, and then obviously that went to hell. And I'm guessing because of what happened to Foggy, McDuffie came over to continue his work, if you like. But Murdoch and McDuffie appear to be a bit of a bigger practice than the one of the original, them in Hell's Kitchen.
She makes a comment, didn't she, to him about why are you in a shop front, and he's like, because it's real and the people are real. And then he's gone. And now they're in a big apartment, like a big office area, and you're kind of like, oh, that bit's gone. Like, I noticed that. I was like, Foggy's gone, but also, so was that kind of the shop front, like he said, it kept it real, it kept him on the street, it kept him with the people, and I feel like that's now come away from it a bit.
It has, and I think this is another thing. So Karen's now living in San Francisco. We get that her and Matt are not talking. Matt's quite upset about that, but Karen seems to be, you pushed me away after Foggy died, and now I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Is that how you kind of took that? That's how that felt to me.
Yeah, it kind of felt like you closed all the doors, you can't now go around opening them all again.
Yeah. One of the things I really liked in both the 2 episodes, and it was kind of a style choice because the ratio changes and everything, is when you see the BB report.
I really liked that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a very clever way of just adding to the storytelling. It was kind of like street interviews, and you get introduced to this character called BB Ulrich. Now, I recognised the name straight away. It reminded me of a character from Daredevil Season 1, a journalist called Ben Ulrich.
Yes, very good character. I really enjoyed him in the first few.
So I made a little note there, just like, oh, could it be his daughter or anything? Of course, we later find out that it's his niece. In a very horrible way, we find that out. Probably. I mean, so there's a couple of other scenes I want to discuss, and then I want to finish our discussion on episode 1 with the face-to-face between Matt and Fisk. So Fisk does win the election.
Yep.
We do get that scene of him, like you said, on New Year's Eve. I just a couple of little observations. One is the Rogers the musical signs are up. That made me laugh.
I'm always happy when I see those big yellow signs.
Yeah. That's kind of a fun thing. But also, just above Rogers the musical, everyone go back and look this up. There's a great big billboard for Harlem Paradise. Now, anyone who watched the original Netflix shows will know in Luke Cage, in Harlem, there is a nightclub that's kind of the heart of every part of the story there. And when we left that show, that kind of world behind, Luke Cage was running it. So that was quite an interesting. Oh, okay, Luke Cage is here then. That's good to know.
Not gonna lie, it made me really happy.
Yeah. So that's good. The next thing then is Fisk wins. He leaves his party, stands outside. Vanessa joins him, and he turns around and says, "I know." And in that moment, he basically, very calmly, is like, Vanessa's been cheating on him.
Yeah, I know. Is it about Adam or something? He says. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
Oh,
Adam, yeah.
Oh dear. Instant thought is like Kingpin is about to rip someone's spine out their ass. Like,
yeah,
oh, 100%.
So, a question for you. She immediately says, "Don't kill him, promise me."
Yeah.
He's really calm. Like he's not angry at her either. And he doesn't, I don't know, man. He doesn't strike me as a guy who takes people betraying him well.
Especially not his Vanessa.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there was, I was watching this with the wife, and she went,
Yeah.
"Have they got a kid?" I was like, no, that's not, I know you were pregnant when I got shot and we have a child hidden away. That was you're having an affair.
Yeah.
She was like, oh. I was like, yep, yeah. Oh dear indeed.
Yeah, that was, yeah, so I'm kind of like, I've put a pin in that, like, that is something. Like, at some point, we're going to be like some guy like, "Hi, I'm Adam," and I'm like, "Hey, you're dead." Yeah, like,
Run!
Dude, whoever you are dead. Also, later in episode 2, there's a scene where Fisk's knuckles are blooded. And there's no explanation at all.
Nope.
We just get deliberately shown. I kind of feel like perhaps Adam's not dead because he promised. But I think Adam's in a bad way somewhere. Being kept alive just so Fisk can use him as a punch back.
Once a week.
I don't know.
Gut punch once a week. So this poor bloke chained to a table with a drip.
Yeah, you've seen Rocky where he like punches all the meat like on meat hooks. You just got this guy on a meat hook being kept alive by a doctor so Fisk can use him as a punch bag a couple of times a week.
Oh yeah, the thing is with this character, I could
that
almost
would be
visualise
tame.
it.
Yeah, that would be tame. So the thing that happened in episode 1, which we'd seen kind of hinted at in the trailers, is we have a face-to-face between Matt and Wilson, and I absolutely loved it. I was so in on this scene. I was so engrossed by it, watching every little body language moment, listening to every word. I don't know. What did you think? Because I mean, I could wax lyrical about it all day.
I really enjoyed seeing them kind of the face-to-face sit-down kind of, almost like they're both trying to portray this whole new character of what they are. Yet it seems like Matt was actually talking to Kingpin and Fisk was talking to Daredevil.
Yeah.
They weren't actually talking to each other on the same level.
Yeah,
it was like, I am not Kingpin anymore. Whereas Matt's going, look, you mess around, Kingpin, and screw things up, I'll be here. Whereas Fisk is like, yeah, but you tell Daredevil to keep himself out of that. It was almost like they were talking in third person at each other.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed that kind of interaction.
Yeah, that's great observation. Because I was kind of obsessed with the scene. Now, there's a movie called Heat, which is a phenomenal film, and there's a scene in that where Al Pacino and Robert De Niro face to face. Al Pacino's a cop, and he's trying to put away this gang of armed robbers, and De Niro's the leader of that gang, and they have a face to face in a cafe, and they kind of talk a little bit, and then you have this incredible moment where Pacino's like, look, we've gone face to face now, and you know, I like you and I respect you. You do what you do, I do what I do. But I'm telling you, despite us seeing each other, if I'm chasing you and I got a choice between putting you down or some poor smuck getting smoked in the crossfire, you better believe I'm taking you out. And De Niro's like, yeah, that's fair. But if you stand between me and my money, and if it's you, even though we've been face to face, I won't hesitate to kill you.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible scene. And I kind of feel like this was very heavily inspired by that. And there is an element of not overt threats between the two, but I mean, Matt straight up says, like, you know, I'm watching you. And Fisk, like you said, responds with a kind of, you know, you've come up in the world, you're a solicitor, you're a lawyer, do not go back to being a vigilante, because as mayor, vigilantes are going to be outlawed.
Yeah.
You know, he makes it abundantly clear, like, stay out of that life. And he's like, stay in your lane. And I'm like, okay. But, mate, you could... Seriously, I implore anyone, watch that scene again. You could watch that scene maybe 3 or 4 times. The hand movements from Fisk. You see him, like, do this little twitch with his hand. And I'm like, oh, someone's about to die. No, okay, we're okay. And me and you talked a little bit about the actor Vincent D'Onofrio who does this incredible job with Wilson Fisk, where he is so captivating in every scene because he speaks calmly a lot of the time, but you just feel like there's a rage mounting, and you feel like at any minute he can just rip someone apart, and you wouldn't be surprised he does it, but at the same time surprised because he seems so calm.
Yeah, he's so calm and collected. Oh my god, he just decapitated someone.
With Fisk winning, he gives his victory speech where he mentions about doing away with vigilantes. Whether you're wearing a skull on your thirst, whether you're the devil of Hell's Kitchen, whether you're swinging from a web. Was it a web swinging?
Yeah, vigilante? Something about, the quote is there about Spider-Man. And I was like, oh, there it is.
So... Interestingly, Brad Winderbaum in that same interview, but that I played a clip from, clarifies they cannot say the word Spider-Man without permission from Sony in their television. They can use it in films, but he cannot appear. Yeah, they cannot even say Spider-Man. So they made it abundantly clear.
Like, I'm pretty sure he says something like a spider suit or something. Yeah. But they can't say the word. You can't call him by his name. So for any fans out there who were hoping that Spider-Man was going to show up in Daredevil, it doesn't look likely. Oh, that's such a shame, because I know there is an arc in the... I haven't read that comic, but I know there is a comic arc of the two of them together quite a bit.
A lot. Yeah, there's a lot. But it's sad, but it is, it is what it is. But one of the characters we do see in this, who we never saw in the Netflix shows, is White Tiger. We see a news report in the opening segment of the first episode of White Tiger Vigilante beating up robbers in a bodega. And then in this episode, we meet a man called Hector, who basically tries to break up a fight on the subway. A guy is killed, hit by a subway train after tripping in front of it. The guy being attacked scarpers, but then the other guy, who was part of the attackers, draws a badge and a gun and arrests him.
Yeah.
Which both you and I had an initial reaction of, huh?
What?
Was it like some undercover thing gone wrong? And then my brain went, nah, they're corrupt cops.
Yeah. Yeah, I quite quickly went from the what the dirty cop. Dirty cop.
Yeah, bad. Because that was a running theme with Fisk, you know. And I also thought back to the moment that Matt was talking to his investigator, the retired. He's like, half the police force hate him, the other half would jump off the Chrysler building for him. And I remember back to those original series where people were so afraid of Fisk, they would literally commit suicide rather than say his name.
Yeah.
You remember? It was like, that was so interesting. It's like, no, he wouldn't kill me. He'd kill my entire family, a generation, wipe us from the earth, and then kill me. So it's better that I just die than tell you anything.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
wow,
that was the kind of power and
that's-
the scariness of Wilson Fisk. Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. So we meet this character. Matt is in the police station sort of doing something, and he hears police officers beating him, telling him to confess. So he steps in to act for him, this guy called Hector, and through his investigations, he kind of knows he's innocent because he can do the whole heartbeat thing, but then he also knows he's kind of hiding something from him, but he don't know what it is. So he's trying to explain that to other people without sounding weird. Like, I know he's innocent, he's hiding something, but I know he's innocent.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, hang on, what is it?
Yeah, no, I know his heartbeat stayed at the right BPM. I know he's innocent, but he didn't sweat, so I know. And they're looking at him going, you're blind, dude. What the heck?
Yeah, you are so weird. As Jessica Jones used to say that to him all the time. It's like, gosh, you're so weird.
Yes.
I love that. Which was an accurate response, I think, by the way, to him saying stuff that he does. But with regards to this, they do uncover that he is White Tiger. They basically find his outfit and his amulet, which is a magic amulet. Again, I don't know the comic, so I'm purely just saying what I've heard so far in the show.
Yeah, his mystic thing, and I'm like, oh, it's about to get weird. It's going to get weird.
Mate, we're MCU fans. We can't, you know, Doctor Strange lives in New York. So
This is true.
we have wizards. We have wizards, dude. Aliens, wizards, and robots.
Yeah.
So so we know who he is now, and Matt knows who he is. Matt obviously hasn't confided who he was, but it's just like, I know who you are. You should have told me. Matt then shows he's a very good lawyer, because he then stands in front of the judge like, you cannot admit this in evidence because then people will be prejudiced because of this, and the judge sides with him. He makes a really great legal argument. He's a very good lawyer.
Very good lawyer. Yeah.
So one of the things that we see with this is that one of the police officers has a tattoo on his hand. The tattoo looks at first glance to be the Punisher logo.
I've noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah, but on a second glance, it is the Punisher logo, but with the US flag added to it. So when I noticed that, I'd not seen that before, and I thought, okay, well, that could just be people adopting the Punisher, because there's bound to be some very gun-ho cops who think the Punisher's king, right?
Well,
There's bound
this
to
guy
be like,
walks in someone with a shotgun, blows everyone away, and then walks out again. Yeah.
but it's bad guys. Like, the Punisher kills bad guys. So there's got to be a few police officers who think, oh, I wish I could do that. You know, I wish I didn't have the paperwork to justify why I just shot that paedophile. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the Punisher's just like, oh, you like small children, bang, walks off. So I could understand why there might be a collection of, you know, and when I looked this up, there is a comic book arc where there is a collection of these guys who kind of hero worship the Punisher, but at the same time go against vigilantes. They track them, they sort of get rid of them. And so my mind is now going over, was this a trap? Was this to try and lure out the White Tiger or a vigilante, if that makes sense? I mean, obviously they wouldn't have wanted the guy to die from the subway train.
No, but they were trying to get to the vigilantes.
You know, like,
yeah, sense.
What was going on? So it's an interesting arc.
I mean, that's
potentially.
definitely one of those things where it's like, yeah, the Punisher's awesome. Yeah, kill all the vigilantes. Wait a minute.
Yeah. But at the same time, that kind of sums people up, doesn't it? Like, you hear part of a message and you jump on it, and they're like, yeah, but if you the rest of the message, no, I just like this bit.
I bit my tongue so hard then. Okay, yep. Yeah. We were about to lose a lot of our audience.
Yeah. There's a lot. Mayor Fisk, by the way. Anyway, we do learn that Bibi Ulrich is the niece of Ben Ulrich. We learn this by her getting a face-to-face with Wilson Fisk and him saying, "Oh, you were named for your uncle. I remember him." Well, you should remember him. You brutally murdered him with your own hands.
So,
and
yeah,
I mean brutal.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
Not good. So that was a...
He doesn't mention that, you notice, though.
No, he doesn't bring that up. What did you think to the chief of police stuff? So the Fisk genuinely appears to be trying to get people on side to do his work and serve the city and all that stuff. And then the chief of police is like, I know what you are, calls him Kingpin, is very rude to his face, which I'm just like, really? If you know who he is? Really?
Yeah. Part of me was like, okay, you can get away with it because you're the chief of police, and therefore you are
surrounded by police
fairly high profile. Yeah. And if something was to happen, that would be kind of like suspicious.
Yeah.
You might be able to get away with it. And then the next scene is him trying to retire and give up the badge. And then I'm like, whoa, no, dude. Now you're just a nobody, a retired person. You're going to get wiped out very quickly.
Yeah, if he was in Russia, he'd fall out of a window.
Yeah.
But just interesting to me. So what did you think about that then? So him putting that forward, obviously you just said, but then Fisk subtly threatens him. What did you think?
This for me is Wilson Fisk, or more correctly, this is Kingpin exactly kind of showing his strengths, which are they're so subtle about the Philly cheesesteak and talk about. I prefer to go to what's that other place we went to? Oh yeah, here it is. Let me just show you the name on the paper that subtly shows this picture of your child that you're hiding away. And it's like that. That is what made Fisk so terrifying.
Because he knew everything.
He knows
his information
everything.
was
You're
key.
right. And not only does he know everything, but the way he kind of subtly... He has just threatened that guy without saying a single word.
Yeah, he's not threatened him.
All he's done is shown a picture of a child, and that's all he needs to do.
Yeah, do we understand each other? And it's like, and it just, everything about that was just for me, it was like, I'm kind of, new Wilson? What's going on? He's so calm, his wife's cheating on him, and he's not killed the guy. He's not done this, and then in this scene, you see his knuckles are blooded up, and I'm like, why? And then you also get that threat, and I'm like, okay, okay, I know who he. Okay, it's him. Okay, everyone, it's not someone else.
I know this guy.
He's not a Skrull. I know who he is. Ooh, okay. We're good. We're good. So every aspect of that was just perfect for me. Like that cafe scene with him and Matt, it was just great. It was just so good.
When the chief officer walks out and he just turns to his vice guy and he's like, the sandwich was disgusting.
Just such a great line as well. Like, yuck. But worth it for the effect, for the drama. Matt, by the way, I don't know if this is a good term or not, but Matt's kind of set up on a blind date. Can we call it that?
Yeah.
A visually impaired date? I don't know. By his new partner McDuffie, who's friends with a psychiatrist who she told me you needed therapy, she told me you needed a lawyer.
Okay, I'll ask you, how quickly did you click that it was actually that she'd set him up on a date?
Not very quick, because I thought she was trying to get him therapy.
I did. I thought this was all about Foggy and him not kind of opening up about losing his best friends. So I'm fully on board with, she's set him up
Matt
with a
needs
therapist.
therapy.
Now we're going to kind of get Matt's going to be kind of delving into like his mind, and he's going to really open up about therapy. Oh no, he's just going to try and get it in. Okay,
he's going to grind and pound in a different way. Yeah, and so he does. He starts dating her. Yeah, Luke Cage style. But yeah, no, he's dating this lady now. She seems nice, so I'm terrified she's dead. Yeah. By the way,
as soon as she then starts being the therapist for Fisk, I'm like, she is dead.
Well, no, see now the Fisk one was just interesting. So Fisk, she is now giving couples therapy to Mr. and Mrs. Fisk. We kind of touched on that earlier, so there's not much more to say about that. But she does a book signing. And in the book signing, a young lad comes up to her, very squirrely, and just like, I need help. And she's like, oh, okay, call my office. She signs the book for him and he leaves. That guy was in the TV show on Netflix called Wednesday.
Yes.
And he's been cast in this show, and I'm fairly confident, could be wrong, but I'm fairly confident he is Muse. I am fairly confident he is the graffiti artist that then starts using human body parts.
Oh.
So if he's taken an interest in her, then that's a worry.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that like just like I saw him, like the kind of the look, if that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Now I could be completely wrong, because I also earlier thought it was the guy who's like the junior admin to Fisk.
Who Daniel, is played by, Daniel has got a deckish.
Yeah, who is played by Gandolfini, who is the son of the guy who starred in Sopranos. So if anyone recognises him, that's who he is. The son of I think it was James Gandolfini. I could be wrong. Apologies about that. But yeah, so I thought it must be him. I was like, oh, he's going to be Muse. He's going to be the villain. But then when I saw this other guy and the kind of frantic, I need help, I was like, oh, it's him. It's him. Yeah. So, and also that would kind of be terrifying if Matt's missus is like giving therapy to the serial killer, because we all know that doesn't work out for therapists.
Not normally very well, no. See, I was more concerned of like, if Fisk finds out that Matt and her, then I think she's in instant danger, because Matt is still technically his nemesis, and now all of a sudden we've got this character that knows his weaknesses, and I'm like, oh.
See, today I think his nemesis is a guy called Adam.
Well, yeah, fair point.
I think right now, as long as Matt is being a lawyer, I think Adam is his nemesis. Whoever the hell Adam is, and whoever you are. Unless you are Adam Warlock, which, by the way, if you pop up in this just nailing Vanessa, that's random. But if you are, he would be the only Adam I can think of in the MCU right now. Then yeah, that would be weird. But unless you're him, then you're in a lot of trouble. Yeah, a lot of trouble. But like I said, we kind of touched on that. The corrupt cops. So I want to take us to this final scene then, where Matt has abandoned the Daredevil monarchy. He's trying to do everything kind of how Foggy wanted him to, and I think that's part of it. I think he picks up that that kind of program from, program, what horrible thing, the service card from Foggy's memorial. He puts it in his jacket pocket next to his heart every day. I think he's trying to do what Foggy wanted him to do. Do it through the law, Matt. Do it the right way.
Yeah.
And there's a moment with these two guys where he saves the witness, he learns what's going on, he gets him out of there, and he kind of stands his ground thinking, I'm a lawyer, they're going to know who I am. And they are so corrupt, they actually attack him, beat up a blind guy, which, there's two parts to this. First of all, I'm like, they're just beating up a guy they think's a blind guy, and they're beating him up. How evil are these bastards, is the first thing.
Yeah, they do take his glasses off first.
Well, yeah, which is kind.
Yeah.
But then the second part, I'm like, oh, you've got no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, you have no idea who this bloke is.
But then he kind of says that himself. So, like, I fought it, and then you see blood of his hit the floor. A brilliant shot. Like, just this droplet of blood in slow motion. And he almost begs them, like, stop. And you're like, they think he's begging, like, stop hurting me. I think he's like, don't unlock this.
Yeah.
Stop what you're doing. walk away because I've got this locked down. And then when the guy puts the gun to him and he's going, please, please, he ain't begging him not to put the gun to his head. I'm telling you, he's begging him not to push him.
Don't unleash the Daredevil.
Snaps. Mate, I was smiling like an idiot because that was the most violent we've ever seen that character.
I'm not going to lie, there was a moment where I go, oh no, when he snaps the guy's arm and it cuts, nope.
Yeah, but also just the noise of him hitting his head into the fridge and then dropping him to the ground.
Yeah.
The snap noise, that was a back, a spine, a neck, something went.
Yeah. Oh.
Everything about, and then the rage, his eyes, like, how do you, because I know obviously they do the eye drops to make it, so he does that incredible thing where he's playing someone blind, so he's not focusing on anything, which is incredible, but to do that and convey rage, that's another level. Like that, like the scream was like visceral.
I remember the first interview I saw with Charlie Cox as himself, not as kind of Daredevil.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it going, this just looks wrong. Like it looks so. He's looking at the person talking to him, and he's like, he's obviously he can see, and his eyes are moving as a normal
British
person,
accent
like, looking
as well.
around. And I'm like, it looks so weird. Like, it looks wrong. Put your glasses back on. I don't like it.
Yeah, he's like he's laughing and joking in a British accent. Well. Yeah. So very well. But that was so violent. It was incredible. Like and it was the visceral scream at the end of just this unlocking, this unleashing of this rage. And I was just, captivated. And it ends, and I'm like, oh, you've got me. Like that's like these two episodes. When you consider my utter guttural hurt over Foggy, in the opening segment of episode 1, it was like you had to win me back. Does that make sense? It's
100%.
like, okay, you've lost me, you now need to win me back. And I said to you, like, it's taken me a few hours to really process from when I watched this episode or these episodes to how I feel about it, because I'm like, you bastard, you killed Foggy, and I think that's going to have a massive impact on the character, and you've kind of replaced it with Foggy Light, you know. I was kind of irked, and then obviously I knew about what they had to do with the reshoots. I'm kind of like, okay, I understand why these guys are there, and okay, I kind of get it. And then I heard that Brad Winderbaum interview, and I'm like, my mind's blown. Like, how in the hell is he coming back? Yeah. And he says, like, we can't get into spoiler territory, so I'm like, okay, so something's gonna happen. Like, what the shit? Like, oh, Avengers time heist, we're going back in time.
We're going to bump into Doctor Strange, who's just going to go,
Deadpool.
Right,
Deadpool's going to nudge him out of the way before the bullet hits, and Karen's going to get shot instead, and then season 3 is going to save both of them. But anyway, so it was just this kind of, my mind spinning, and then I just kind of sat with it, and then I thought about that second episode and that ending, and I was just like, key thing about any show I watch, me and you have a 3 episode rule.
Yes.
You watch the first 3 episodes. If you're locked in, you're locked in. If you're not, better to walk away, because you're going to end up watching a show that you're like 8 episodes in, you're like, ugh, just end so I know how it finishes.
Yeah.
which is awful, but I've had that before. So, but I was like, do I want to watch episode? Yeah, I do. Like, I need episode 3.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment, and it's a true sign that I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. So, okay, here's my kind of overall thought on it.
Yeah.
Me and you have watched those first 3 seasons. We've watched The Defenders, Luke Cage, Jess Jones, even Iron Fist. We have watched all those, and The Punisher. Now, obviously, I didn't get all the way through The Punisher, and I need to. I know. Yeah. Circle back to that one later when he appears in this, and I'm like, damn it, I still need to watch it. But I think for us having all of that understanding and all that backing, I think these 2 episodes have been fantastic. Like, the same as you, I kind of watched them last night, and I went to bed, and I kind of woke up this morning, and I was like, it was so much better than I realised it was last night.
Yeah, like, it's weird.
I went to bed, and my thought process when I went to bed was, this has followed on beautifully from where it ended, but I also feel like I've missed something.
Yeah.
And then I kind of woke up this morning and I was like, that was actually a really good. Like, that was really good.
Yeah.
My only concern I have is if people are new and have not seen anything previously and they are new coming in just at that first episode.
Yeah.
We know that what this show is about, and at times it can be a real slow burner leading to something big.
Yeah.
And my only concern is anyone that's new to this show, are they going to stick around for the slow burn to the big? If they're making this show more as episodic, proper, in quotations, proper TV, then we could have half a season of build-up to a big event.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get that. And the reason why I say... I mean, I think obviously we've got the overarching stories. Fisk is Mayor.
Yeah.
Matt is Daredevil, Dino, all that. But also, in both episodes, we kind of had B stories going on. Where we are getting resolution. Like, so, the White Tiger situation... Yeah, that's not been resolved in episode 2, but you kind of went from who the fuck to, oh, okay. You know, so you are getting... Episodic TV is something that me and you talked about a lot, where a lot of people get this wrong, and Marvel have got it wrong until this, which is, at the end of every episode, you do need to have a beginning, middle, and end in an episode, but also a hook to watch next week.
You need that one big arch, which is episode 1 to the final episode.
Or stuff. You need reasons to tune in again. Like, the most pure art form for this is soap operas. You know, in the UK you've got EastEnders and you've got a thing called the Duff Duff. So the end music plays and whatever is going on at that point is called the Duff Duffs. Yeah. And they always try and make it dramatic and over the top. So people are like, oh, I gotta watch next. I gotta watch tomorrow. I gotta watch next week.
Yep.
And it's like that. So episodic TV always had that. Like, I go back to the shows I loved in the 80s and I said, like, the A-Team and all these different things that told a story every week, but you wanted to see the next one because, oh yeah, what happens next?
I mean, yeah,
what's going on next?
You also get the complete other side. So, like, mine and yours, one of our favourite ever shows was How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Now, that obviously has one massive overarching theme.
Yeah.
But you could also put that show, any episode you want, you could put it on and just have half hour of enjoyable telly.
Yeah, Friends, lots of
Friends,
shows
the same
like
way. And I like that they're going to try and take the Marvel slightly more down that route with this episodic start, middle, end.
Yep.
I like that. And I hope they get it. I think they've got it well the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And there's still enough, like you say, of the overarching thing that happens there. But like I say, my only concern is I know kind of how the Marvel fan base as such is going at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's my only concern, is that I don't want this to be season 1. The people that love Daredevil absolutely enjoy it, can't wait for season 2. And then you kind of get this thing come out of like, oh yeah, no, we're cancelling it after season 2 because of the reaction.
Well,
that would devastate me because
it's instantly possible. I mean, you only got to look. So yesterday, the reactions were coming in thick and fast, and one of the ones that people put a lot of thing is Rotten Tomatoes. Tomatoes. Sorry, I said it the American way because that's how they say it.
You say tomato,
and
I say tomato. Yep.
It is the lowest score debut of a Daredevil show. So it scored lower on debut than season 1, 2, and 3 on Netflix. To me, it means nothing.
Yeah.
Like that has no bearing to me whatsoever. But to some it does.
Yeah.
So,
like, to me it's a case of, if I've always had this thing, I've mentioned it many times on the podcast, you know, something good happens, you tell your friend, something bad happens, you tell Facebook. And I think that happens a lot as well in these sort of things. Like, if I really, really enjoy something, this isn't me personally, I'm just saying as a kind of wider thing. If I've watched something and I really, really enjoy it, I'll tell my mate, like, I'll tell you, oh, you need to watch this, it's really good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go on to Rotten Tomatoes and all that sort of stuff and like, oh, everyone needs to watch this show, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But if someone sees something and they think it's crap, every time something on Facebook comes up about it, they're going to tell the world, "Oh, this is crap," though.
Yeah, I mean, we get that.
We get it a lot, and I think that's again, that's where my concern is. I don't want the people that haven't seen it before and kind of go, "Oh, it's a bit slow," and you get a fight scene in each episode, but there's not really much, you know. I'm going to tell everyone it's crap. Where you get the people like us that are like, "This was really good."
I mean, time will tell. I mean, the show is renewed for. I mean, the original plan for the show was something like 18 episodes and done.
Yeah.
They then broke that down into 2 seasons when I think they realised the direction wasn't working. They needed to change stuff up. And the new showrunners come in. So they had a kind of season 2 renewal in the can ready. And they want to make it so it's yearly. They want to make it so this is like old-fashioned episodic TV, 1 season a year, and ongoing. That's what they have in their mind for these types of shows.
Yeah.
So what is kind of interesting is you see a lot now where it's a season, miss a year, then the next season.
Yeah.
The reason for that is because renewals come so late now, and the CGI and all of the stuff that's got to go into production and post-production, they kind of, it just means it's a lot of time. But they are trying with this to do it. Now, of course, that's going to be dictated by the reaction. So if the reaction to season 1 overall is crap and they don't think it's worth it, then season 2 will be the last. Like you said, that they'll just wrap it and go. However, if the reaction is good and then season 2 is they look at it and they go, yeah, this is looking really good, they'll probably renew it ready for a free, you know, to keep rolling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want people to be vocal in their support. So if you watched it and you loved it, get out there. If you watched it and you hated it, keep it to yourself.
Don't ruin it for the rest of us.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Acolyte with Star Wars. I mean, that got ruined. But mate, was there anything else on this you wanted to discuss? I got one thing left that I just wanted to say before we wrapped, but I just want to make sure there's nothing I missed.
I don't think so.
Okay, so just the one last thing, there's a lot of people would have noticed episode 2 was attributed to the late Camara de la Reyes. A lot of people might not realise who that is. That is the actor playing Hector, the White Tiger. The actor passed away, sadly, in December 2023, which I guess goes to show how long ago some of the scenes were filmed for this show.
Yeah.
Passed away from cancer in 2023, and they obviously, you know, put that in his memory because he was heavy in that episode, in episode 2. So yeah, incredibly sad. You know, you sort of meet a character and you're kind of like, oh, okay, you're interested. And when I realised he'd passed away, I was just like, oh wow, which happened before. Do you remember watching Moon Knight and there was a character they introduced in that, and then like the poor guy passed away in an accident before the show aired?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, terrible.
And we've just had it in Gen V of The Boys as well.
Yeah. So, you know, terrible. I mean, it happens in the world, but it's, yeah, very terrible. So that was sad, and I just want to mention it as well on the show. So we will be back next week to discuss episode 3. It airs 1 day earlier in the USA than it does in the UK, which is annoying, but it's what it is. But we will watch and get the show out as soon as we possibly can to everybody. Let us know what you think. You can get in touch via all the socials. If you want to have a more in-depth conversation, you can join us via our Discord, which is basically just a chat room for all the shows, and I opened up this one yesterday. You can also email us, sam@stuffandthangspodcast.com. All of that contact information will be in the podcast description. We will be back next week. You all take care.
You're keeping tabs on me.
No, I'm not. I'm just... call it professional curiosity.
What profession would that be?
I'm a lawyer.
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.